Hey, everybody, welcome back to Self Transformation Radio. I'm here to share with you chapter 2 of the book that is yet to be titled, but it's chapter 2. It's a blog post that you can find on selftransformation.com/chapter-2 if you want to read along or read it instead of listen to it. This one's called No, I'm Not Going to Sue Him. Because that's exactly what he would do. And that's what a past version of me would have done too. It'd be nothing but a drain on my energy. If like when I almost sued the city where I live because they wouldn't let me allow guests of my choosing to stay in my own home while I was traveling in a van. Eventually I realized it was easier to leave them alone and do what I wanted. It all worked out and everybody's happy. I know I could sue him. I know I have enough to win a case, but I'm not that kind of person anymore. Jesus taught us to turn the other cheek, and that is what it means. Just let it go. When I wrote in chapter 1 that I am not angry, I'm just done, I really meant it. I know what he did was wrong, and maybe he will see it that way one of these days. But even if he never does, and the apology never comes for the effects his actions had on me, it's still okay. Because I've learned to shift my energy into a reality where everything happens for me. At my virtual Transform retreats, I teach my students about energy, our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and how that energy creates outcomes in our lives, the very outcomes we call reality. This means if he's living in a reality where he perceives the first 4 months of his work to be worth a $230,000 bonus, that he's fighting for it and taking it, even against my will, lacking my full consent, is the right thing to do, and even quite logical for his current level of consciousness. We are always doing our best with what we have at the moment, no matter what situation we're currently beating ourselves up about. It's easier to let something or someone go if you understand that their actions are directly related to how conscious or aware they are of themselves and the effect of their actions on others. If his reality is that a finance degree makes him smarter than me, even though the whole web of lies called finance was literally made up to enslave hardworking humans, then it makes sense that he'd treat me like I was less intelligent. He's doing the right thing for where he is from a consciousness standpoint. If his reality is that I'm not capable of anything extraordinary, especially not without his help, then he'll have a hard time when I do extraordinary things. It makes sense that he'd call me a scammer for offering the Transform retreat because he doesn't get it. He literally can't understand anything outside of his current accepted reality. For the record, I think everyone is extraordinary, even him, which is why I help people reawaken to that truth about themselves during my retreats. But because most people don't believe they are extraordinary, most people don't think those thoughts that an extraordinary person would think, so they feel ordinary instead. And because they feel ordinary, their actions will always reflect that belief. He can have whatever reality he wants. I don't have a choice in the matter. However, I have a choice in what reality I want. My reality is this. Powered by a divine source, I created whatever abundance he took from me. That power, that creativity, he can't take that from me. To sue him would mean me dropping into the destructive fighter energy zone to, well, fight. And I'd rather move forward. I know where true wealth comes from, and it's not from getting huge severance payments. Real wealth comes from within us. It's the art we create. It's our voice. It's the wisdom we share. It's the words we write for our future books. Our wealth is our energy. Energy is our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And it's our awareness of that energy that allows us to harness it and transmute it from pissed off into power. The biggest reason I don't want to sue him is because the only thing I'd get out of it is money. The only thing he got from me was money. How sad. I've already gotten so many things out of it that are far more valuable than the hundreds of thousands of dollars he paid himself in severance after his actions directly caused the loss of his job. One of those things is a peaceful inner state of being that I didn't have access to when I first hired him. It's an inner state of being I'm sure he would consider nonsense or just another one of my scams. Truth be told, when I first hired him, I didn't know even a fraction of what I've learned since hiring him. I know that in my reality at that time, I was just attracting whatever energy I was putting out. Like attracts like. Confession. So here's the fun part. My last post, my last chapter, it was a bit of a social experiment. Nearly everyone who responded to my recent hypothetical scenario Facebook post, too, said I should sue him. Get an attorney. Even ChatGPT spit out, if the CEO effectively terminated his own employment by advocating for the sale and stating he did not want to continue in his position, his entitlement to severance may be questionable, especially if his actions led directly to his job loss. Here's the thing. It's only because society has conditioned us to strike back when we've been wronged that so many people suggested I sue my former CEO. The industry we call law has become a multi-billion-dollar industry that has enabled millions of people to legally scam other people out of money and to sue people who've taken full advantage of that so-called law to get away with it. It's not natural. It's not harmonious living. It's not healthy to engage in unnatural, disharmonious behaviors, which means it'll eventually catch up to him, and I don't need to do anything for that to happen. Only a few people, probably all Transform Retreat veterans, asked what I'd gain from suing him, even if I did get the money back. Bingo. That's what I was looking for. Someone who knew that it wouldn't be worth it to fight when I could use that same energy to just become even more awesome without him. It was clear he saw me as a cash cow and nothing more. Now that I've launched selftransformation.com, which has the clear potential to grow into something much larger and even more lucrative than the company I had with him, it's got to be surprising to him. Like, damn, you mean I could have extracted even more milk out of that cow instead of just selling the whole farm because the cow was sick? Suing him would be just for money, fighting fire with fire, which would be nothing but a drain on me and a waste of energy because I already have what is far more vital to me, my freedom. I'm no longer attached to him in any way, and that fact still makes me giddy with excitement. I'd actually lose freedom if I even briefly engaged a lawyer about this. Freedom has always mattered most to me from a very young age. Just ask my mom. The real freedom here is in choosing not to engage with people who lack the ability to see you for who you are. The real freedom is not needing their approval anymore. It's knowing that you don't need them in your life at all. Real freedom is in calmly and fearlessly sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly about your life and how you're growing through even the most challenging experiences. It's all just stories anyway. What stories are you choosing? I'm choosing to tell a story about how I figured out it was possible to change my perception of any and all experiences so I see them as happening for me instead of to me. This is entirely possible. Even the scariest thing or the thing that has never made you angrier, you can find reasons to be grateful for those things instead of scared or angry. We're not supposed to be scared or angry all the time. It's not natural or part of who we really are. And in the post, I have a meme with a picture of Duncan Trussell on it where he says, some poor phoneless fool is probably sitting next to a waterfall somewhere, totally unaware of how angry and scared he's supposed to be. Shifting your energy is about awareness. Having more awareness makes it easier to shift your perception of a certain experience towards something empowering instead of defeating. So instead of telling the story that he stole from me, I can now tell a story of how I overcame my fear of lack and scarcity to such an extent that someone could walk away with $460,000 from my company's bank account that they did not actually deserve and may have fraudulently obtained, and just let him take it. Non-resistance. I can say you can't put a price on freedom and actually mean it. This is an example of going with the flow. He wants the money, he has access to it, and he has threatened to make your life a living hell if you don't give it to him. Easy. Just let him take the money. It's just money. You can earn more. What you can't get back, though, is your time. So I asked myself, wouldn't you rather spend your time creating amazing new programs, coaching people you care about, and writing your new book instead of spending even more energy on someone you don't even want in your life anyway and who no longer has any valid reason to be in it? Letting go of stories. You always have everything you need. You really do. I love that story. Here's another one. You have survived every single one of your bad days. And another, you have proven over and over again that you have what it takes to make it because you're still here. You have held on to stories about wrongdoings, insults, and heated arguments for so long that it has shaped your identity. It has literally created your perception of who you are. And letting go of those stories will change everything. If the stories are about something that happened in the past, all they're doing is robbing you of this moment, which is the only moment you will ever have power over. How will you choose to focus your energy? When you hold on to old stories about who you are, what's possible for you, what's happened to you, understand that you're choosing to focus on something that isn't even real anymore because the past no longer exists. And this works for everything. The former CEO of my company didn't take severance, even though his own actions directly caused the loss of his job. Not anymore. That's an old story. Instead, the former CEO of my company is on a growth journey surrounding the value of money, and it's different from mine. Maybe he's here to have a money-centric experience, and that's okay. My sister doesn't speak to me not because she's a meanie, which is what 7-year-old me would have said. That's an old story. Now the story is that my sister didn't speak to me because she's experiencing life differently than I am right now, and that's okay. She doesn't have to like me for me to be happy. My happiness isn't dependent on how she or anyone else feels about me. How she feels about me does not affect my ability to love her. See how it works? It works. It's the work. And the best part is that this work feels so good. It doesn't have to be painful. I love to discuss and shed light on all the lies we've been told in our culture, which has been heavily influenced by corporate greed, which is lovingly called capitalism. One of those lies is that work has to be hard or that it's supposed to be painful. Real work doesn't feel like work. Sure, it can feel like a nightmare if you want it to, or it can feel like heaven. You and your element doing what you love and being compensated well for it, that's the way life is supposed to be. Challenging but fun. Invigorating but relaxing. Self-transformation is supposed to feel good, but it can absolutely be a process to get to a place where you allow it to feel good. When we're still stuck in shame, we expect less of ourselves and expect more frustration in life because some part of us believes we deserve whatever we're getting. We tolerate abuse and blatant disrespect from others because we feel we deserve it on some level. If we didn't feel we deserved it, why do we stay and tolerate it when we don't have to? It can be because of fear, for sure, but many times we tolerate it because the manipulator has convinced you that you're the bad guy. Even though you lost your confidence in almost your life while he was in charge of your business, you're the ungrateful one who can't see everything he's doing for you. The gaslighting can be subtle. And that's what makes it super strong. These kinds of people are most powerful when you are disempowered and think you suck. They can make it seem logical that it's your fault you suddenly have no confidence because you're such a mess after all. We experience what we allow. We suffer long-term only when we allow it, only when we create it with the stories we tell ourselves about what happened. I could write this entire book, or currently this blog post, podcast episode, about everything that happened to me when I allowed this low vibe energy to run my business. Or I could use my power to transform it into something that happened for me. Had I not allowed him to sell my former business, I'd probably still be stuck in that low vibe energy, fighting him for the resources I needed to create what I really wanted. He'd still be getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. He'd still be profiting off of my work. He thought he was the most valuable resource in the business, but the truth is it was me the whole time. I was the most valuable resource, and he couldn't sell me. He had a job and a company to sell in the first place because I gave it to him. He got severance not because he was rightfully owed it, but because I let him take it. He genuinely thought the reason he got so much money from me was because he'd earned it. Money isn't even real, but it is the end-all be-all for people who worship it, and they'll do anything to get it, even sell their soul. That's why I let him take the money, so I could keep my soul. So I could restore my confidence, self-worth, and inner peace. So I could put my full energy behind creating something new. So I could fully enjoy the benefits of what I am able to create without him. Your turn. What in your life are you not allowing to feel good? Where might you be trapped in an old story about your perception of what happened to you in a moment called the past that no longer exists? Let me hear from you. Email me hello@caitlinpyle.com or visit the blog post and leave me a comment on the website. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.